bootstrapped or VC funded?
Ooh.
Bootstrapped as long as you can until it chokes growth. If your growth rate stays like this, then go get some external capital to get the slope of growth higher. But if you can get the slope of growth like this with bootstrapping, bootstrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in that camp as well.
Yeah.
But I do like VCs that also offer something beyond cap or beyond capital.
Yeah.
Right. So like if they can offer you some sort of connection or something like that, or they've got connections to some sort of market you're trying to go after, take the money.
That's a great plug for
RG
Startup
Ventures.
Ignition
Yeah.
Ventures.
Yeah, so like we're a pre-seed venture fund,
Yeah.
but what Series A funds, we get in trenches and help people at the early stages, and I think we're pretty good at it. But where Series A funds are good at is helping you build the next layer of team past the founders. When you need those real rock stars to take you from 2 million to 10 million, they have the network to also help find those kind of managers that would never join you when you're at 50,000 revenue,
Absolutely.
right? But at 2 million, they come in and bring you to 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have we just raised our Series A in December last year of 23, right? So it's been a year and a couple months, but I mean, they immediately put in a VP of finance for us, game changer, absolute game changer. I mean, and those, like,
and you needed it then, but you didn't need it 4 years ago.
Welcome back to the Startup Ignition podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We are your hosts, Tyler and John Richards. We are here to share stories. We are here to help with trends. We're here to help with validation. We're here to help with anything on your entrepreneurial journey. We hope you're getting a lot out of it. We're having a ton of fun doing this. So today we have on our podcast a special guest. We're so thankful for him coming by, and I want to introduce him real quick. So Devin Shurtleff. We are honored to have him. He is the newly appointed CEO of Opiniion, yet been the founder of Opiniion for how many years now? How long? 8 years?
Yeah.
Opiniion has been around for 8 years. And we'll maybe let Devin tell a little bit more about the newly appointed.
That means it's in Section 1202 territory, which we like.
Territory.
Good job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Plus
By the way,
for the heads up
listeners
on that
and viewers, if you don't know what Section 1202 is, you need to find out because it's going to make Devin very happy someday.
Yeah.
It already has.
It already has. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Very
I need to dip into that story.
So.
So you are the CEO of Opiniion, and you were co-founder of it, right? So
Co-founder,
original co-founder. We will maybe step into this a little bit now with one of the passings of one of those co-founders just recently, and that's why you were newly appointed the CEO just recently. What was that? That was last.
It was in October.
Yep. Okay. So you're enjoying that CEO role?
It's been a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
On some, I mean, a lot of challenges on others, and meeting and being with Justin all day, every day. We say that, right? But like, are we ever working 24/7? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, being with him, I don't think I fully understood. Everything that he did,
like the role.
Like the 14 hats you wear?
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of it, right? Like we always split our business as like the front half of the business was sales marketing. Like he kind of led that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was always the back half of the business, all the fulfillment, the product
operations,
CX, like all that side. Yeah. And so that stuff's not new to me, but all like the front end and how to manage our metrics. And we've also got, a new investor
relations.
Right? Yeah. And so which has pressed us a little bit more on getting a little bit more granular in our metrics and stuff like that. So not only did, I brought in this big role, but I'm also getting a lot of pressure coming down from our investors.
I think your journey has a lot of insights into leadership, adaptability, and just the power of digging deep when you need to dig deep, which I'm excited to dive into today. But before we dive in, on Startup Ignition podcast.
Tyler's going to have one of his doozies.
Here we go. We always do an icebreaker. I hope this is okay.
Okay.
So, and an icebreaker, we just like set the tone of the podcast. Everybody sinks into their chair, gets comfortable, and it's just something fun. We always play like a little game with our guests. So is that okay? Let's do it. We're gonna do
Sure.
We're gonna do an icebreaker, and I'm gonna do a rapid fire this or that. Okay.
Deal.
And I want you to participate too.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be the
We'll cut it if it's embarrassing. Right?
Yeah. If it's embarrassing, we'll actually keep it. That's even better. This is a safe space.
Yeah, there we go.
Remember. Okay. So the rapid fire this or that. You ready? So I'm going to say two things, and you say which one you like or prefer or want or do over the other. Okay. It's going to be easy at first. Ready? Energy drink or coffee?
Energy drink. Yep.
I don't drink coffee.
Neither.
I do it. Neither for me, but I do an energy
old
drink
school,
first.
baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
I'm both. Actually.
Really?
Yeah, I get up early and I stay up late. So yeah.
I don't need much sleep either, but I'm definitely a night owl.
Yeah, you are a night owl. How much sleep do you get? I need so much sleep.
I'm like 5 to 6 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My reason,
I'm 6 to 8.
my reason for night owl and my entrepreneur career was just this. I got to get something done. If I went to bed and said, I'll get up early and get it done, I worry that it won't work. I'll wake up late. I won't get it done. So I just go until I get it done, then go to bed. And if I only get 4 hours sleep, I only get 4 hours sleep.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Okay. Equity or salary?
Oh, equity.
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 Heck yeah.
What are we doing?
I will give me a zero salary. I'll clean the toilets and give me a big equity option package. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And then also with big salary, you probably wouldn't do great jobs. I mean, I'm just saying, even though you have a very high salary job and a very low equity or no equity, like there's a lot of things you wouldn't do. Right?
Yeah.
It's
The
crazy.
bottom line principle is here, and we say this all the time. It's always good to do teachings. When you take a salary and work for the man, you are renting your time to someone else. When you're an equity holder, you're got a piece of the rock, and you can have a life-changing event.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, salary and equity too. I mean, it comes at like a stage, right? Like in the beginning, you've at least got to cover your bases,
Yeah.
right?
You got to get your nut every month for you and your family and what you need to cover. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, even a story about that. We have one of my co-founders, like he, not to get into your this or that or derail it a little bit, but
I'll get back into it.
But in the beginning, I mean, he talked about he's like, I got to have a salary, right?
Yeah.
Coming into this, and the rest of us, like, we weren't taking anything, and we were just putting it all back in. He's like, I got to have it right, and he ended up taking a lower equity package because of that. We were all gonna, split it pretty evenly. He's taking it now, and it has cost him
so much.
millions of dollars.
Yeah, and the point
Yeah.
is that nowhere in the world can you get this kind of risk reward ratio.
Yeah.
Take $30,000, $50,000 less salary and get more equity.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe it doesn't work out and you've taken a hit on salary for a year or two,
Yeah.
but the equity trade, if the company does make it, is like you just said, millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next, this or that. Not to cut off the stories because I love the stories.
you're good.
String cheese or protein bar?
I'm a string cheese guy.
String cheese or protein bar?
If it's a protein bar I like, because I'm very picky on which ones I like, but I always love string cheese.
I was just
Well,
trying.
which
I was
which
trying to
ones do you
think
like?
startup food. String cheese or protein bar?
Do you like the Built Bar?
Nick Greer, are you watching? I like protein, the Built Bar. Okay, they're just a little bit sweet for me.
Yeah.
in the way they are.
Okay, I'll back up, Nick. Nick, we have tons of Built Bars in our house.
They're just they're candy bar.
My wife
Oh, yeah.
buys them
so
on
they're
repeat.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's-
I like a little more chocolate covering on mine. Believe it or not.
Okay, here we go. We got to go a little quicker. I have 10 of these guys.
Sorry,
We've
this
only
or
done,
that, this or
we've
that.
only done
Keep
4.
going.
This is supposed to be
Yeah.
rapid fire. Okay, work from home or office work?
Office.
Office.
Yep.
Yeah. Office.
Office. I think there's so much you can do in the office that you can't do. The little nuances from working
Yep.
by people. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I always used to set that tone when I was building my
If
startups.
I was
like,
in an operating company, 100% office.
Yep.
Later in life, it's kind of nice from home sometimes.
yeah. Okay. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Summer.
Summer, 100%.
Yep. Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
I like what Elon's doing.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
We're Elon fans over here.
Jeff Bezos is coming around though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's coming around. But Elon Musk, I just listened to the All In podcast, the most recent episode, and the guests were the founders of Stripe,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them were sitting and talking about 6 or 7 major companies Elon Musk is doing simultaneously
Yeah.
and game changing in all of them. It's unprecedented.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. It's so funny. Not to derail this conversation again, but I was watching something and they were talking about how Elon Musk is technically the hardest worker in the world because he's the richest man. And if you equate working hard to outputs, like it's like from 2020 to 2022, like he became the richest man in the world. And they're just like, okay, technically Elon Musk is the hardest worker ever.
Yeah. And just like,
it's just the leverage that he has.
But
right?
then I teach entrepreneurship and mentor people and help them a lot and academically look at the reason why things happen. What he did with Tesla was genius. Like his first market was going to tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Why was that so genius? Is because he didn't try to make a family car for the soccer mom. He tried to say, tech entrepreneurs, I'm making a cool computer that drives, and there's gonna be lots of glitches and weird things at first. I might not have the range down, the battery might not be perfect, but it's a cool computer that drives. The only patient market for that would be gadget freaks in Silicon Valley, right?
Totally.
And so
The tech heads.
then he figured out the range and the battery and got everything figured out. That's great entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and even at the price point he came in at, right? I mean, it was like $100,000 for a Tesla back in the day.
Yeah.
I got mine in 2017.
Oh, you were early.
I was an early adopter. I would come out of stores, and people would be taking pictures.
Like
with me.
Google.
Yeah.
Now you see them everywhere, right?
I remember when he got the Tesla Plaid, it was the first Plaid version that came out, and it was like everybody's gaga over it. I remember people would come out of the grocery store and just be like, is that a Plaid?
Because no one had them.
Yeah.
No one had them. Yeah.
Okay, next one, stealth mode or big public launch?
Stealth.
Let's say you're working on something new. What are you doing? You stealth moding it, or are you doing some grand opening or some big public launch?
My thing on PR is literally I like to win on the field of competition and manage the expectations. PR builds up expectations.
Yep.
I tell entrepreneurs, just go win on the field. You don't need to win in the newspaper or the media, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm not like a very loud person. Like I don't have a very loud personality, and so we've always just kind of coasted on the
Kept
radar.
it under the radar.
Doing your talking on the field.
I like it.
Throwing touchdowns says a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. City life or country life?
Country life.
Yeah. I definitely don't like hardcore city life. I'm kind of a suburban life guy in the middle, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, if I had to pick between the two, absolutely, but I'm more of that too. I don't want to be so far from the grocery store, and doing stuff, but I hate
You're not in the butt crack of Utah on your 5 acres of land, are you? Right?
No,
you like the middle ground. Okay, middle ground.
I'm on an acre in Highland.
There you go.
If that gives you the land there.
Okay, bootstrapped or VC funded?
Ooh.
Bootstrapped as long as you can until it chokes growth. If your growth rate stays like this, then go get some external capital to get the slope of growth higher. But if you can get the slope of growth like this with bootstrapping, bootstrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in that camp as well. Yeah. But I do like VCs that also offer something beyond cap. Or beyond capital. Yeah. Right. So like if they can offer you some sort of connection or something like that, or they've got connections to some sort of market you're trying to go after, take the money.
That's a great plug for Startup Ignition Ventures.
Yeah. So like we're a pre-seed venture fund, but what Series A funds, we get in trenches and help people at the early stages. And I think we're pretty good at it. But where Series A funds are good at is helping you build the next layer of team past the founders. When you need those real rock stars to take you from 2 million to 10 million, they have the network to also help find those kind of managers that would never join you when you're at 50,000 revenue, right? But at 2 million, they come in and bring you to 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, we just raised our Series A in December last year of 23, right? So it's been a year and a couple months, but I mean, they immediately put in, VP of finance for us, game changer, absolute game changer. I mean, and those, and
you needed it then, but you didn't need it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, okay, that was a great this or that, great icebreaker. I feel like we're all comfortable. We're all engaged.
That was a good icebreaker because there's a lot of teachings in it.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. So, okay, rewind a little bit and going back to where your intro was. And I don't think for the viewer's sake, we never even discussed what Opiniion does. So Opiniion it automates the process of gathering feedback and reviews, and specifically for resident complexes or
for multifamily.
Tell me what Opiniion does.
Yeah, so we want to measure and manage the resident experience at every step of their journey, right? From the second they learn about a property all the way until they move out, we are measuring the experience of the resident there in big multifamily apartment complexes. So we work with the nation's largest management companies. We have about 1.5 million units that use our software on a monthly basis to be able to gather feedback from residents. and then understand like what they can improve on. So so we aggregate that data, we analyze it, and then we give it to the property managers so that they can figure out what they're doing this quarter or this week or this year to optimize their
Is the biggest KPI of all for those management companies saying our occupancy rates? Is that a huge thing that you're helping them have great occupancy rates?
Yeah, I mean, even further than that, it comes down to NOI, net operating income.
Oh, really? All the way to net NOI.
So, yeah. Yep. So the occupancy rates absolutely drive that. Satisfaction drives that. If you have great reviews on your property, everyone wants to live there.
Right.
You drive higher NOI.
Yeah. I think I told you when I first got affiliated with you, which was at the very beginning, that I invested in this property around Phoenix and Scottsdale, and the Highway 101 was interesting. Across the street was Phoenix. The other side of the street was Scottsdale. So they built it on the Scottsdale side of the street. And that alone, just saying that, and what apartment dwellers, a young single upwardly mobile professional saying, I live in Scottsdale. They wanted to say that. Yeah. So that's like a marketing thing. And so, and that's something that was just interesting about how important it is that when these young professionals say, where am I going to live? That when they look up a multi-family residence or a multi-apartment, that they're saying, oh, it's in Scottsdale. What are other ratings? What do the people say that live there? Do they like it? And that's what you help lift all that up, right?
For the,
that's cool. Absolutely. And it affects the profitability of that complex.
So going back to the founding story of Opiniion, how did it come to be? Because you mentioned at the very beginning you had multiple co-founders.
Yeah.
That's pretty unique in itself. Usually you don't have 3, 4, 5 people along the story of the company coming in and co-founding it. So start from the very beginning. How did it start? Because 2017 you said.
Yeah. So
take us back to 2017.
We actually technically started just dabbling in 2016, but 17, it was more of an idea that got put together. And and basically, anyways, my college roommate, his name's Morgan. He was working for Dealer Socket, up there, kind of the point of the mountain area. Yeah. Well, I guess just right there in Draper. Yeah. And he was a CSM for them, just working with dealerships, and just hated his job. So one day he called me just kind of defeated. And I think he'd probably had a bad day on talking to some dealer owner or something like that. And just was like, man, I can't do this anymore, and so I was like, well, and I think this was largely just to get him feeling a little better. But I was like, well, give me an idea. Let's do it. And he was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, I am not getting off the phone until you give me an idea of what we're going to do. And he's like, well, I was working with a dealership who was trying to drive more reviews. So he had set up an automation within Dealer Socket to ask for a review and just send them the link out of Dealer Socket. So he's like, yeah, but it's super janky. And the way they were doing it, the guy was really specific about it. I think we do it way better. And so I said, okay, I'll call you back. So 30 minutes later, I called him back, and I had built out of a bunch of WordPress pages, and I was working with a texting component at the time. And I built a form that you could put information in, and it would send a text and an email to a person to ask for a review. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this is great. So anyways, I went out and started just calling some people that I knew and trying to see, hey, can this work? And, you guys know Ryan Grover? He owns a Help Cloud over there. Yeah, they do. They're right over here actually, in Orem, but he was our first customer, and he still uses our software to this day. Oh, wow. But we ended up turning on reviews for him and got him hundreds of reviews in the first 30 days. And he's like, man, this is incredible. Right. And so that's how we started. At the same time, I was running a company that did skincare and supplements and stuff like that online. And so it was, so it wasn't the time for me to just start a new startup. Right. And at the same time we had Alex, who had kind of called me and was like, hey, I need to, he's like, I'm looking for something different. I want to go sell. And so I was like, well, we've kind of got this half-baked software that we were maybe doing $1,000 a month in revenue. And so Alex was like, well, I want to see it. I'm giving you a shot, and so
was your buddy from Dealer Socket a technical guy? He built the software.
So yeah,
Or
so
who built it?
So I built the first version of it.
Oh, you
just
did?
in WordPress and like, I mean, it wasn't really like built, right?
Yeah.
It
You
was
cobbled
like,
together some free stuff.
yeah, just a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
like put together. Yeah, it maybe cost me $50 a month to like run all the stuff they were doing, but you could just duplicate the pages for all of these different clients. But once they had a client, they had to actually put it in the form, hit submit, and that would ask for the reviews. And so, so as we showed it to Alex, Alex was like, "Hey, this is great." And we didn't really hear from him for like a week. And then he calls me. He's like, "Hey, how do I take a credit card?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just got to put it together and figure it out." Because we were like doing paper checks and like, you know, we hadn't really figured it out. And he's like, no, I need to take a credit card like right now. I'm just sold one. And I was like, oh, wow. So the three of us started running with this. Alex was selling, Morgan was doing fulfillment, and I was kind of checking in with these guys. And as we started to grow in revenue, I realized, hey, we need like a CEO. We need someone like who can come in and really run this thing. And so Justin and I had known each other for a while. He had just left Degreed.
So at this point, there was three of you, and then now you're talking to Justin.
Yeah.
And that's Justin Bingham, who we're going to talk about in a little bit more. Okay.
And so, you know, I went to Justin and was like, hey, any chance you want to go run a startup? And he was like, maybe. Like, what do you got? You know, and so kind of showed it to him, and he did the same thing. He went out business to business to business. He was trying to figure out, talked to a bunch of friends and everything like that. And he comes back, he's like, all right, I'll do it.
And I'm one of the guys he talked to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
I
Is
remember
that how you guys got connected?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly Justin, and we met at the Starbucks by University Mall in Orem.
Okay.
And we just sat down in there, and he was saying, should I do this? Is this something I should do? And all that, because he was coming off a Degreed.
Yep.
With David Blake.
Yep.
And of course my answer was yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin came on board probably mid to late 2017, and we ran it, just the four of us, for about a year. Ended up raising some like our first
and
seed
before
round.
that, just to let you know, I'm going to say, because the roots a little bit, a Startup Ignition boot camp attendee was also slightly working with you guys a little bit, I think, on it, that came to Startup Ignition boot camp independently. Justin took me aside. Oh, that sounds like the company that this other guy was dabbling in a little bit too. And so that was the connection too. And that could lead to an interesting story too on that. But that's just so fascinating, those early days. And and I met you through Justin.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we ended up just like running for about a year, raised a little bit of capital, which was great. We raised $750,000. And that put us on track for the next like couple years of growth.
Wow.
So, and then a couple years in, we were selling to salons, spas, medical offices, chiropractors.
Yeah, funny story. I used it at Dev Mountain for like
Dev Mountain.
Justin got me to sign up and use it and pay.
Sucker.
No, I think you guys. I think right when we started, like about 6 months later, you kind of hyper focused on like the multifamily like thing, and that's maybe kind of a path I want to go down. Like, how did you realize? Okay, you were doing all these different verticals, and you're like, okay, this is where we want to go. Because I feel like that's when the company started taking off. Really, was.
Yeah. So multifamily is still like 70+% of your customer base, right? Something like that.
95
now.
95%.
Yeah.
So a couple years in, I mean, we had Mary Maids, like cleaning service. We had the whole franchise of them. We did Sport Clips haircuts, which we had the whole franchise. Like, we were authorized to sell there for a bit. Anyway, so we ended up like kind of servicing all these service customers, and Jed Milburn, does that name sound familiar, up in Salt Lake? Milburn and Company. Sounds
familiar, but.
And so anyways, big real estate guy. Justin knew him somehow. He knew everybody somehow, right? And he's like, hey, our apartment reviews suck. They're so bad. And he's like, do you think it would work for that? And Justin's like, well, we could try it. So he said, I'm going to connect you with my manager. They're at AMC, property consultants, still a client of ours today. But we went and met with Jennifer over at AMC, and we said, hey, we want to do this. And she said, that'll never work, but maybe. And so we turned the software on for one property of Jed's, and we got 30 reviews in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And she called us and said, I need this in all of my properties. And so come down, meet, let's figure out a price point there. Because we were working with Jed specifically, like on pricing and everything like that before. And so that is how we started. We didn't know at the time that AMC was the third largest in the nation for property management.
Wow.
How long did it take you to roll out to all of their properties?
Oh, we're still doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, we have, they have what 600-700 properties, and we probably have. I mean, we have a lot of them now.
Okay, so you kind of started throwing up spaghetti on the wall, seeing where you could grab some land and get customers and get traction. And
this is actually advice from your dad.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
We were at the mall.
Yeah.
We were sitting there in the food court of the mall, and you said you should go sell five companies in all these different areas
Yes.
and figure out which one like really resonates like back. And so we had done, I mean, up to that point, like on our service-based customer, we were $1.5 million in ARR, and we were on our way, and we had a whole sales team like churning that we were growing by almost 100K a month at that point. And then this property management side came in, and our biggest problem is that we went to market with, we're going to automate the process of getting you reviews. And that's a lot of integrations, right? Especially with this spa uses this CRM and this uses this. I mean, because it's pretty fragmented on the CRM side. Yeah. So we looked at property management, and my background being finance marketing, right? So I have a master's degree in finance. And so I was looking at the numbers and going, well, these properties are way more lucrative, like on a churn perspective than our service-based clients. And so we just...
So basically what it is it was a little bit of a red ocean in trying to cover all SMBs, small and medium businesses.
Totally.
Okay. A lot of companies coming in to do that.
Yes.
And so you wanted to sharpen your competitive angle by hyper-focusing on a vertical. And you need to go test which vertical literally had the most hair on fire use case, plus was the easiest and best for you to make a profit on servicing, right?
Totally.
And that's what you did. And then you discovered that and found it.
Yeah.
That's the process that you go through. They call it split the market. In other words, if you are in something where there's a lot of general players, you can hyper-focus and split the market up into a hyper-focus category and do really well. And Opiniion is the embodiment of that principle.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, there's two things. When you have a horizontal strategy and you're trying to get in all these different businesses, there's all, like even the way that you speak to those customers can be different from a salon to a CrossFit, right? How they think about, how they address their users, right? Because some are like, there are athletes, and some there are patients, and some, there are customers, and some, so you've got like all of these different things. And when you have a horizontal strategy, when you really go vertical specific, they call it the riches are in the niches, right? And so, and that's exactly what we did. And so that changed our entire strategy from, okay, we're going to sell to everyone, to we're just going to sell to property management. We found an investor who was specific to property management, RET Ventures, that are up in Park City.
I remember that. Yep.
And now they're, a couple $100 million fund. And so we raise money from them, but the unique piece about that is that their LPs or their investors are property management companies. So they're eating their own dog food a little bit.
So they like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Totally.
So they're just happy to implement it in all their proproperties.
Yeah, absolutely. So a third of our business right now are from our LP connections.
Wow.
And because they go, hey, invest in us. We'll invest in software companies. That'll raise the valuation of the capital you just put into us. And it's just like this big loop back and forth. So
that's amazing. That's amazing strategy. So you felt like you could leave behind every other vertical and hyper focus. What year was that you guys hyper focused on multifamily residential like complexes?
It was 2019. It was right before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, right before COVID.
Yeah, about 6 months, a year out of COVID.
When did you raise that money from RET?
So beginning of 2019.
2019.
Yep.
And I remember some of the, Tyler, I'm not sure if you're fully aware of this, but all this time I'm on their advisory board.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Probably the senior advisor that helped you coordinate the advisory board, if I remember right. Yep. And so we were having these advisory board meetings. And then what really happened is sit down with Justin and Devin, and we talked about, you need to now focus on your performance and really kind of engineer your sales and revenue traction and show this 10% month over month growth so that you can be on the driver's seat for the next investor, right? And that's what you guys did. And you guys started nailing it. It was awesome.
Well, I like the strategy of hyper focusing on the multifamily too, because it was like, it kind of differentiated you, because I do feel like even today, and probably even 5 years ago or 7 years ago, there's a lot of technology companies or software companies that were doing this. It was kind of the hot market at the time, which was like this feedback loop and this like review, categorizing and, this SMS or email campaign to get clients to give feedback, right? And, even in the day where my company before was using it and utilizing it. And so it's kind of, you weren't trying to serve all masters. It was like, okay, yeah, let's
and then you can go
hyper-focus on this
deep and
one.
you can be the dominant player.
Totally.
But what's also the point I was making too was this, that you also then said, hey, we want to be good entrepreneurs and a great business independent of the vertical we chose or even the market we're in. And you started also then managing the company really properly and getting great traction.
Yeah.
And it put you in the driver's seat. And it was really awesome to see. You're not just focusing, okay, here's our product. We're hyper focused on this vertical, but we also know how the game's played because you're a highly scalable venture. And this is a principle for the listeners and viewers. A highly scalable venture is probably going to need external capital to fuel the growth.
Yep.
And that's what you guys went through that period. But to land that fuel, to get that fuel, you have to paint a really good financial picture. It's just not, hey, you got to trust me and believe me, it's going to happen. You got to show you've got the trajectory that they can believe in. And that's what you guys did a really good job on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, coming from the outside. And you were a big help along the way. I mean, even our financial models were, sourced, I think, from you with Mark Elder.
Yeah.
So, he's the base of the model that I ran our business on, at least on the finance side, from up until 2022.
Did you run a lot of those inner kind of financial workings and making sure all your ratios were right and expenses and revenues were on track or on the projections?
We didn't have a finance guy until
that was
beginning of last year. Yeah. So
and just a really, I know every founder feels, oh man, it's chaotic, it's crazy, but literally you guys were doing really a lot of good things and you were really managed well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So. I'm just impressed by your financial prowess because hey,
he's a master in finance, he said.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So you were comfortable and
ran a lot of models. Yeah. Specifically in venture too. So that was like the emphasis of my program up at the U. And a lot of financial models, a lot of cap table, like a lot of that stuff.
Give the viewers and listeners a little bit of strategy or tips because I'm constantly getting in front of like budding entrepreneurs and speaking to newbies and people who are trying to get into entrepreneurship and even people who have their ideas and are actually trying to get trickles of revenue coming into their businesses. And I constantly tell them, like, you have to be financially aware. Like, you literally cannot be an entrepreneur and run a business without having basic.
It's one of the hallmarks of what we teach.
Yeah.
You have to have basic business finance.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a CEO or a co-founder and have a major role, you got to understand business finance to some degree.
But now, even myself, though, I get befuddled sometimes when it gets to very complex models and understanding the inner workings of like this dynamic workbook and this whole financial, thing that's been built. It's hard for me to get in there super deep, but I do feel like I do have the basic necessity that an entrepreneur needs to financially be aware. What tip do you give to the entrepreneur who's maybe not super financially minded?
Yeah.
And is maybe a salesperson or someone who can go and make and generate business, but doesn't have that financial awareness?
Yeah. And some of the principles that like I have used on the finance side, I think are different than some other entrepreneurs, right? But the biggest one for me is always knowing when your cash flow positivity date is going to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one, you're in trouble.
You mean like that J curve?
Yeah. Well, and even like where your expenses are going to match your income.
Yeah.
Right. And so if that date never moves, right? Like let's say it's September of 26 of next year, right?
Yeah.
And then the next month you run the model, it's now in October and now in November. It's not real.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so you've got to manage towards that date. Every time we raise capital, we have been hyper focused on making sure that our modeling is correct on our hires. Typically your head count's where your expense comes from.
Yeah. Your biggest expense is HR.
Yeah. And so especially in the software side, right? Like your biggest expense is there. And so what we would do is every time we raise money, and the principles that we try to live by are for every dollar that we raise, we're getting $1 in ARR, right? And that's very, very, very hard to do, but we have constantly done that.
over the time that you're spending the dollar you raise, that you're matching that with $1 of ARR.
With $1 in ARR.
Yeah, that's a great.
So
principle.
up until our last round of funding, we had, that was the principle that we had, which was every $1 of raised capital becomes $1 of ARR.
That's a great rule.
And so a lot of that you're investing in sales,
Yep.
right? Or you're investing in something that's going to give you some sort of return there. Don't squander your capital on stupid stuff. Don't go buy beanbag chairs and balloon animals and like all this other stuff. A lot of like software companies like, we want to be the cool place to work. And it's like, you will find people who want to work for you.
Hey, I seen your new offices. I saw the picture on LinkedIn. I saw the ribbon cutting that this guy and you posted on LinkedIn.
Blood, sweat, and tears for that.
But the new office, and I'm just going to share this, they're doing it the right way. They just got into that kind of office and they're getting it.
They're
getting it at a killer
like
rate because of the commercial office space situation, right? You guys are not going out and wildly spending on office space. You're actually getting a killer deal.
We'll make sure Jordan puts that picture from LinkedIn on the podcast somewhere here so the viewers can see it because it's a cool picture.
So some other advice like on the finance side is always run your model to break even. So you're never raising in a position of desperation on your next. So treat your capital raise as if you're never raising another $1.
Yeah.
So if you're raising $1 million,
you have to show projections that you are going to get to profitability at some point with every raise.
With every raise. So a lot of people are saying, okay, well, I raised $5 million, right? But over the next 5 years, I'm actually going to lose 10. So that puts you in a situation where you've got to go raise another $5 million to be able to continue on. And the problem that becomes is when you're negotiating with a venture group, you're negotiating from a position of desperation.
Yes.
But if you're at break even, which we have never raised money until we were at break even.
Wow.
Ever.
So you're literally getting the dollars to pour gasoline on the fire that's already going.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to play catch up.
Because in that position, let's say the market turns, which it did. Yeah. Right. Or you're not getting the terms that you want. You want someone who wants, the participation and like all this other stuff. You're just not getting the terms you want. You don't have to take the deal because you're not in a position of desperation.
Yes, exactly.
And so these are principles that I think everyone needs to live by is like, for every $1 you raise, $1 of ARR, and always run your model to break even.
So I hope the viewers and listeners are paying attention. You want to go in raising money where you're in a position of strength
and power,
or at least stability, and not in desperation. So also that means you don't start 3 weeks before you're running out of cash. If you want to have a problem or you want to get hosed, do that.
Yeah. Our last raise took us 7 months.
Yeah.
So and I think that's probably about average when you're doing a Series A.
Yeah, and you like when you have that strength and you start early, you're going to get multiple term sheets and you're going to have multiple interested parties, and that's how you get the best deals. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was at a summit the last couple of days too, up in Scottsdale or down in Scottsdale, I guess, and
where it's cool to live in a multifamily complex.
Yeah, across the street from Phoenix. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they are talking about right now how it used to be revenue growth was like the biggest driver of value. And now it's GRR, gross revenue retention rates, right? And so get your GRR there, even if you have to sacrifice on the growth side because you're giving a lot more attention to your customers, your retention rates right now are more important than anything.
Yeah, churn is the enemy of SaaS.
Yeah, we like to say that the great symptom that tells you got a problem is churn.
Yeah.
Too much churn and something major is broken somewhere. You got to fix it before you do anything else.
How has your churn been over the life cycle of Opiniion? Has it been pretty good?
Yeah, we have a 92%
retention.
Retention.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And our net revenue retention rates are even in the 130s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we have really hyper focused and continue to hyper focus just on the customer journey and making sure that the customer's having a really good experience with your product.
So I want to go back because I do want to loop Justin into this whole story here. But I want to go back to your thinking at the founding of why you thought I need a CEO and why you or one of the partners involved at that time couldn't have stepped up into that role. Like, take me through that thinking and the reasoning behind that for a second. And then why was Justin the one to fill those shoes in the early stages of Opiniion?
I think when you look at least what we needed, I needed someone who was really confident, right? And Justin, the most confident guy I know. And I was
laughably
very
true. Yes.
I was very lucky to actually kind of get his eye on, and even get any interest from him, because I, candidly thought like, there's no chance. Right. And, not talking about my other partners, they're just not the eternal optimist.
Well,
that
not
he
to
was.
toot your horn here, but you're pretty confident, capable, good looking, and energetic. So why not you?
Well, because my other business was doing well. So,
so you didn't want to step away and be distracted by Opiniion at the very beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to leave a company that's doing, $8 million in revenue a year to go to a startup.
Yeah.
And so, in hindsight, I'm glad for the way that we did it. Right. But I didn't know. You never know.
Yeah.
Right. And so this other one's, paying me. I had partners over there that were doing stuff too. So I couldn't leave them high and dry to kind of come to this other thing. And so Justin seemed like a good fit. He also seemed, a lot of entrepreneurs, like kind of go back to like this, like equity or salary. He was one that didn't need a salary in the beginning either. Like was a leader. He had his financial situation was
taken care of.
Yeah, was okay at the time, right?
Justin's a doer. He
Totally.
gets stuff done, and he's analytical, but also competent enough to trust his gut and do stuff. I mean, he gets things done. I mean, he's attractive. It was a great fit between you and him and the rest of the team.
Yeah. I'm much more of like a data driven person. He is much more like an optimist and just relentless at, I'm going to sell this deal. I'm going to get this client.
There's a magic E called enthusiasm. And a lot of entrepreneurs need to understand somebody on your founding team needs to be that person who radiates enthusiasm. People buy, customers buy, investors buy, employees you're trying to recruit buy enthusiasm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so Justin was then appointed to be the CEO and did obviously a very great job, got you guys to where you were all the way up until this last year of his passing. And maybe this is a great time to share that story just real quick with the viewers so they understand that your partner had.
And this is where it's going to get a little tender.
Yeah.
Because
a box of tissues around here or something.
So I mean, I just for the crowd and listeners, as Devin shares this, and if I get a little choked up or if I just get a little somber, it's just, I consider Justin Bingham kind of an entrepreneurial son, to be honest with you. Before he got together with you, I mentored him from BYU days through other things and all this stuff.
You met him as a student.
Yeah. And just as a young guy, and he just took to me and I took to him, and I was helping him make life decisions before he decided on Opiniion and how he was doing in his career and all that. And so, and he's just, I just really liked him. He's a great guy and I miss him a lot. And you know, when you tell your story and what happened and all that, I just cannot believe it still. I'm still in shock.
Well, let me set the stage just a little bit here, because for everybody listening and watching, Justin tragically passed away last October, right? While he was canyoneering in Zion's Park. I don't know the full details, but basically he was canyoneering or rappelling and the gear gave away and he fell. Right? Correct.
Super experienced at it. He's a extreme sports kind of guy.
Yeah.
He even challenged me one time.
We lost very hard.
What was that in?
Pickleball, weren't you? We played with you, didn't we?
It's a legendary story around the Opiniion office, I think. Yeah. But and this goes back to also another great advisor who was a good friend of the company and all that was Warren Osborne, who tragically also died of ALS. So back in the day, you and Justin, Warren and I would be in meetings together, and figuring out the company. And then one day, Justin and Warren, who were both athletic, right? Yeah. And, little old me, they say, even though we haven't played pickleball, we could whoop you. Okay. And I go, I've played for a lot of years. Are you sure about that? And we played tennis. We're good at it. And I said, okay, great. So anyway, we did $100 bet. And we set up the game, and Nolan came with me. Yeah. Your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And so Nolan and I played those two, and it was over $100. And so I think we said best of 3. So we win the first game. They didn't like it.
You smoked
Win
them?
the second game. They didn't like it. They said best of 5. So we won the third game. They go, okay, best of 7. So then we win the fourth game. And they're realizing, maybe you need to know a little something about a sport before you challenge people. And then I said, you know what? We won our $100. Our wives are over there. Why don't you play our wives?
Yes.
And the wives beat them. The wives beat them in 2 games.
Oh gosh. Typical Justin.
Smoked him.
And Justin did not like that. For the next few years, he wanted a rematch.
At every moment would bring up a rematch.
But go ahead, tell the story, Justin, and your relationship with him and all that. So
yeah, I mean, and you kind of touched on it, but I mean, that guy lived his life at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Always, right? And he was always doing something. He was just, speed flying, climbing, doing trips, extreme sports, backflips off of cliffs, and so every year he would go down for his birthday and do, which is on the 5th of October, and he would do a canyoneering trip.
Oh, that was like an annual thing that he always did.
Yeah, he did it.
Wow,
A couple
I did
years.
not know
and
that.
So, and I think he was getting a little pressure from his wife to kind of slow down. And also the friends that are like, hey,
because now you guys are getting over 40.
yeah, and they're just like, and a lot of friends are like, yeah, I can't make it anymore, and we got kids and life and all this other stuff, and so he even told me, he's like, hey, this is probably the last year I'm gonna do it, and he ended up doing a 2-day trip, and on the last rappel down, it's about a 300-foot rappel, 280-foot rappel. He got down about 70 feet, and the gear failed on him. He had a device that the rope kind of wraps through it a couple times.
Yeah.
And one of the wraps popped off, and and tried to get it back on and just couldn't.
Yeah.
So he fell about 200 feet and
my gosh.
Passed away there at the. I think they actually got him out. I'm not sure if if he passed away right there at the foot of the cliff or after they life flighted him out. But yeah, that was not a call I thought I would ever get, especially from him. Someone so experienced.
Happened on a Saturday, and Monday morning, I woke up and had a text about it, and I go, "What in the world?"
Yeah, I remember.
And then I called you and I said,
"Is this real?
Tell me this is not real." And he
I
goes,
didn't believe it.
John, I'm still dealing with it, but it's real. And then I said, I'm here, whatever you need. But it just was shocking.
Yeah.
Because as Lindsay, his wife, said to me, he's just, bigger than life type of personality kind of guy.
It was just crazy because you and Justin are investors in our venture fund, and we had just gone through all of that. I remember our lunch at Costa Vida telling you about the fund, and you and Justin just go, "We're in, whatever it is, we're in." And it's like, it was so crazy that, fast forward 2-3 weeks and I get that text, and it was just utterly shocking.
What was so satisfying in 2024 in the summer to the fall is you and Justin, after having been with you for all those years, so many young entrepreneurs, I say, here's how it can work and what's going to happen. And someday you're going to receive the fruits of your labors, and you're going to have life-changing experiences, and your family's going to be secure, and it's going to be amazing. And you guys had just realized finally all of that dream, and congratulations to you on that, but also to Justin and his family. And then to have Justin right as he literally reached the summit of that experience, and then for him to be taken is just, it's not fair. It's not, it's not the way life's supposed to go and all that. And we feel for his wife and family so much. And for you, I mean, he was your friend and, shoulder to shoulder for years. So condolences to the whole team still. And I'm still got a spirit of sadness around it. So
I also, sorry, I just tipped over a drink here. But I also just remember interacting with your team at the funeral and going around, and just how sad they were and how close they were. It just shows the type of leader that Justin was. He literally was like best friends with even the lowest person at Opiniion or the lowest person on the street. Honestly, that's just Justin. And so it was just, again, just so shocking. And condolences to
I want to say
everybody.
this too. He treated me with such respect as an older guy, and after you guys, and you,
what did you think of John the first time you met him through Justin?
But
you're like, who is this guy, Justin?
Like the funnest thing was when Justin and Devin the most fun thing was when Devin and Justin would say, "Hey John, can you come right over right to the office? We got to talk about something right now." And I'd zoom over there, and you guys would be so respectful and nice. And then you'd ask some questions, and we'd talk about what we're going to do. And it was very rewarding. I mean, you guys are one of my favorite founding teams I've ever invested in or been a part of or been advisor of. And mostly because you're super strong, but you're also teachable and listen to advice and you take out of it and take action. It was just it's such a great experience. And Justin was a huge part of that. And it's super fun and you're a huge part of it. I just really impressed. I guess I'll stop showering you with all that, but it's just, I miss Justin. And you know, if you're somewhere listening, we love you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think, man, I miss that guy every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. And I didn't, I mean, we were like close, right?
Yeah. And, building a company with your brothers, like literally.
Well, and I think that's like, you know, something hard to kind of grasp too. That's like things are fundamentally different about what we're doing. And there's a little bit of comfort for me because in the early days, he and I very much disagreed on a lot of things, right? But I loved that because it meant that we were getting all the opinions in the room.
Yeah.
Like if we always thought the same, like, you know, it wouldn't have been
founding
great.
teams should not be clones of one another.
Yeah.
Diverse.
Just an echo
Here's a
chamber.
principle researched: founding teams that are diverse outperform homogenous teams.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, no, go ahead. Keep going, Devin.
No, I mean, but every time we would disagree on something or it was never personal, ever. But he'd always end it with, you know, I love you, right?
Like that sounds so Justin, right?
He's like,
I love you, right?
But I love you. You know?
Yeah.
And I'll be fair, like, you know, there's a lot of times where like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing it. I will support you and I will do it, but I don't want to do it. You know, and but it was never personal. Things always worked out there. And if I'm honest, like I'm struggling on, is it working out now? You know, like where do I go from here? And there's a little bit of comfort that I was starting to say is the last year, he and I have not disagreed on anything.
Yeah.
And so that brings me a little comfort of like what I'm doing now, I still believe that
Justin would be
the
doing
same thing.
Yeah.
Right? And the other day there was one of my team members, you know, I was talking to him about what's career look like for you? Like, what's your path? Like, what do you want to do? You know, and he starts listing off, and hopefully I don't get super emotional about this, but he starts listing off that he's like, I never want to be a CEO. And he has the chops for it. He's brilliant. I want to be like a president, COO. And he said, that's the route I want to work my way up. He's got incredible finance background, super smart. The way he thinks about things is awesome. And he said, because you get all these protections from the CEO, like you don't have to make some of the weird decisions, the investor relations and all this stuff. And I, in front of one of my employees, just started bawling. And it was like, you know, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm
I
like,
just made the CEO cry.
And I was like, I just like what you were saying is the exact thing that Justin did for me, right? He protected me. I hate doing, no one watched out. Yeah. I mean, the investor relations stuff is, it's fine. It's not my favorite. I am an operator at heart. I want to move the numbers of the business. I want to make decisions that actually make money and actually make change or create retention, or that's what I love doing. Right.
Yeah.
And the CEO ends up becoming kind of this intermediary between like investors and the public and some of the sales and getting on, you know, client call and that stuff. I never necessarily wanted to do.
Yeah. Devin, I can tell you from the outside looking in, and you know, I'm a shareholder and been around this whole time. My opinion of the new CEO of Opiniion is that you had this thrust on you and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. Seems like you're taking the bull by the horn.
My check-in calls with you, I've only done a few and all that. It feels like, you know, you knew this, it was unexpected and this all fell on you. And I think it's not easy, but you're doing a good job.
My last question to wrap this up is, when that all happened last year in the fall, was it hard on the business, or have you guys come out of that? Or, you know, like not just financially and revenue and traction, but like, you know, the morale and like the actual cohesiveness of the employees and just the environment of working at Opiniion. Like how has it come? How have you come out of it? What's the end result?
Yeah. Immediately when it happened, right? Like that Monday morning, I mean, shortly after I got off the call with you, I'd tell the whole team. Yeah. And that was the hardest, probably one of the hardest conversations.
I called you before you told the team. Yeah. But I just had to see if it was real or not.
Yeah. And everyone thought in that room that we were getting bought. Like they all thought that we were getting
That's
purchased.
why you gathered them
and
together.
that's why we gathered them all together.
Oh my
and
gosh.
to watch like their faces just change was just, I mean, it's like heartbreaking. Right. And so coming out of that, I mean, you get a lot of questions of like,
Where do we go
next?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, and they're like, Devin, like, what are we doing? Right. And so a lot of that was just like playing kind of cleanup. There was a lot of media calls, like, you know, because it made national news and People Magazine and like all this other stuff. And so the team, you know, saying, and half of them don't really know him all that well because like we've grown by 100% in the last 18 months, right? Like on our head count.
Yeah.
So, and some of them like don't know him that well, know obviously who he is and all of that. And then the other half of the team has, you know, been with us 5 years.
Right.
And so
Probably in tears. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, and so, you know, we kind of just told people like, hey, we're going to remain open, but if you need time off or anything like that. And the way the team kind of rallied around, like
Pushing through and
job's
helping.
not finished, you know, and we got to just keep going. And we had a record sales year, at the end of the year, with the biggest Q4 we've ever had. And
That makes me so happy.
The team bought in. Our EMPS score almost doubled.
Yeah.
Everyone just put their kind of heart and soul into the business. And I think in, you know, when you come through kind of a tragedy like this, everyone plays a role like in it, whether it's direct or indirect. You know, I am playing a direct role like with Lindsay, right? And making sure that, you know,
Justin's wife, Lindsay.
Yeah,
I
Justin's
talked
wife,
about her,
Lindsay.
I
Yeah.
should have said who she was.
Yeah, you know, playing a direct role there, saying, okay, how do we manage like the shares in the business that he still has? How do we do that kind of
Because
stuff?
she's got issues.
You know.
She's asset rich with the stock.
Yep.
But she's lost her husband's salary.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we paid
Whatever
that.
you guys are
We paid
doing,
that
right?
for a while. Yeah.
I know you're doing probably some nice things there, but
yeah, so we had that where there's like kind of a direct role, right? And then, but there's a whole bunch of indirect people saying like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Right. And my, I guess advice to them was double down, you know? And so we've come out of that. I mean, we have kind of Justin memorabilia all around our office.
Yeah.
He's in our DNA.
A kind reminder.
I kind of told you that. So a few weeks, right before this happened, you were imminent to actually get a new office space and you wanted to get one. And one of the things you did was you said, I'm going to finish this project for Justin and we're going to get a great office space. And I was invited to the grand opening of that office. And I went out there. Things were still really raw, but the word I think of when I had that experience being there for that grand opening and ribbon cutting, and you invited me to come stand behind the ribbon and all that, I just felt family. Mm-hmm. Everybody there felt like a family. Lindsay was there. She was still really tender, and she probably still is, of course. But I'm just saying, I actually felt the reaction was very supportive of you, knowing this was put upon you and what was going on. It was, you know, there's a lot of ways things could go after something like this. And I think you guys, for whatever reason, which is a testament to Justin and you and what you built before, it was just almost like perfect the way it had to go to have a great continuation of what you're doing.
Yeah. And I know, you know, we probably got to wrap up here soon, but so right after this happened, you know, I'm on the phone with the board like that very next morning. And I found out maybe 2-3 hours after he passed away. And the board basically just said, hey, you know, you got to make it clear that you are like the interim CEO, that you're the place they've got to look for right now. It's going to be a really rough role on you. And then we'll kind of revisit that. And about a week after that, they basically asked like, hey, do you want this? Like, do you want to do this? Or should we, because no one's going to fault you if you walk away tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to fault you for that. And so it wasn't until probably November that I was kind of serving in this like interim capacity and made the conscious decision that like I needed to finish this out.
Yeah.
I mean, because leaving Opiniion was on the table for me.
Prior to
No, like after this. I mean, our investors basically said, if you want to walk away, you can.
Yeah.
But I don't think that bringing someone else in would have been the right thing to do.
No way.
Yeah.
I think
So-
this is completely the right move.
Yeah. And you're completely capable. We support you 100%. I do it speaking on behalf of an outside person looking in. So I think it's great. I think you've got all the skills and talent.
So before we wrap it up, where do you go from here? What are you excited about in the future? Like what's on Opinion's radar? What's on Devin's radar for the next year, 3, 5 that gets you going, gets you excited, gets you up in the morning?
Yeah, I think this event has changed the way that I look at things, right? I'm a hoarder when it comes to like security and cash and all that. I'm not very flamboyant when it comes to that stuff. And so I've personally spent a little more money, a little more enjoyment, take the trips, make sure that I'm doing the stuff that I've always kind of said like I'm doing later. I just bought a new house on Monday.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Move in tomorrow.
That's
so
awesome.
doing things like that I don't think I would have normally gone outside my comfort zone and extended myself to do stuff like that. Cause my house I live in now that we're moving, it's almost paid off, right? I'm that type of guy that's like, I'm very conservative on that side. And so I think like on a personal level, living life a little more.
Yeah.
You never know when's your last. Like that's become abundantly clear to me that like tomorrow could change. Build the relationships that you have. That relationships are those that I value a lot more and want to make
personally
sure.
and business.
Personally and business. And so those are kind of things that I'm focused on kind of on a personal side. On the business side, it is game time.
Yeah.
We're growing right now. We'll grow another 50% this year. We are hiring like crazy. We'll double our headcount again this year.
But revenue growth is the goal is 50% jump from last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we're hiring a lot. We got a big space to be able to do that. We're traveling a ton with clients. We are, for the first time ever, looking at acquisitions, right? And have a war chest with our financing partner to be able to do that. And so things are exciting.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And so, I think up and out, eventually, but yeah, we're in a high growth mode right now, selling on a lot of accounts, putting on a lot of ARR this year. And I think
2025, do you feel like it's the year? Do you think economically the macro economy and everything's lining up, stars are aligning for you, Opinion, and for what you guys want to accomplish?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of excitement in the market.
Yeah.
There's a lot of capital. We're based upon like a lot of property sales, right? So a lot of acquisitions are kind of gearing up to sell, or even to be purchased by other things. We're hoping interest rates come down, which really affects the way that our businesses run. We're pretty excited about that. When it comes to us, we bought a ton of software last year that we implemented. Last year was groundwork, like foundation year. Yeah. Get your hires in, get the right software in place. Don't hack it together. Get the gold standard on stuff. Pay a little bit more for the software to get there.
I like to say that's the stair step to our listeners and viewers that are entrepreneurs. The hockey stick curve is not a straight line. It's actually a stair step up. And on the horizontal landing of the stair is where you're doing what you just said. Prepping. You're setting the stage to go to the next level.
Yep.
And you have to set the table and build the systems and infrastructure to go to that next level. Because if you try to jump up to that next level without doing what you just said you just did the last year, you will have chaos and things will break. And so what you've done, it sounds like, is you've set the table to have a great 2025.
Well, you got to map that stuff out and be aware of it. And so
it doesn't just fall in your lap.
Yeah. We grew by 50% last year, but we planned that in 23.
Yeah.
Right. And we planned some of that in 22 and 23. Yeah. And now we planned last year, we said, okay, we've got to get our revenue in place, like our revenue motion in place to be able to there, but we've got to build all these kind of foundational
Entrepreneurship's not a whimsical activity where you just spray and pray
and get
it's
lucky.
Literally science.
Yeah.
It's
there's some luck to it, right? You got to timing,
serendipity and all that. But actually, again, just like you like to say, Tyler, it's when, preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's luck. And you're prepared. You can't have the experiences you've had of growth the last few years if you didn't prepare for it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fall in your lap.
The example I always give is if you're at the Jazz game or the BYU game or any of these sporting events and they're throwing out balls, how do you ensure that you get a ball thrown at you? You have to put yourself in that situation and say, hey, over here, throw me the ball, rather than folding your arms, sitting down in the chair. You have to be prepared to get and meet that opportunity, right? It's the same thing in business. So
All
Thank
right,
you, Devin.
So how we doing?
Yeah, I think we're almost at time here. I just want to wrap things up and just emphasize to the viewers that Devin's journey really underscores the importance of resilience, community, innovation, and stick-to-itiveness. Like, it's a great example to hear from you and the insights that you've dropped on this podcast today. And I know I'm going to embrace a lot of the little tidbits of information that I've heard today, especially about, enjoying life to the fullest. I think all of us can really gain some insight from those comments.
I want to give my thanks too, Tyler.
Okay,
I just want to say, Devin, one more thing. Thanks for doing everything you're doing. Thanks for over the years. Thanks for taking on this role and choosing to continue in that CEO role with the company, because I think it's the perfect choice. And thanks for opening up on the podcast here today. Just, a little tender moment to talk about Justin and all that for you and me both. And I just want to thank you. And, we're here for you. If you ever need me still, like I've always been there, I'm here for as long as you need me.
And Devin's just a stand-up guy. He's just a good guy.
Yeah.
Come be his friend.
Yeah. If they've got a lot of job openings, and if you're in the Utah market, you want to move to Utah and get a job at Opiniion, you should be contacting this company, because they've done incredible and they're going places even more. So
So I mean, on my side too, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
And anything in your guys' portfolio companies too, I'm happy to chat with them or be a resource or
Thanks.
anything.
That would be awesome.
We'll take you up on that.
Hey, that benefits you as well. Being an investor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Eating my own dog food there.
I know, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. We're signing off. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit us up, email us, comment. We'll respond and help out and do whatever we can. So thanks for listening.